Hi guys, my name's Andy, and in this lesson I'm taking you guys through what a key is in music, why it's useful to you, and also I'm going to be talking about the key of G. So a key in music is a way of knowing which chords go together, and it can be seen as a family of chords or a palette of chords, like a painter's palette. And it's also a way of knowing which melodic notes are going to work over those chords. Now, as a quick kind of guide as to a really quick inclination of what the key of a song might be, the key of the song is normally the first chord, the last chord, and the most common chord that crops up in your song or chord sequence. So if, for example, my song is in the key of G, G will probably start the chord sequence. It might not end every time, but the song may end on a G. And G will also probably be the commonest chord in the song, or happen for the most amount of time. But none of those things have to be the case for a song to be in the key of G. In fact, a song could be kind of in the key of G, but not even have a G chord in it. And how is that the case? Well, it's because that's not the reason a song's in that key. It just tends to be that sounds good and that gets done the most. But it's the other chords in the song that actually dictate what the key is. And those chords are, when we take the key of G as an example, because G is a very guitar-friendly key. If you've been playing guitar for a number of months or weeks, you'll know that probably already. We have G as our first chord, A minor. I'm just going to be demoing these chords, but I will have these chord shapes available to view in the lesson notes that accompany this lesson. So this second one's A minor. Then we have a B minor, which I'm playing a B minor 7, kind of like this, so that the majority of people can play it. There's another way of playing a B minor which is kind of correct, but it would be the bar chord way of doing it. So I'm giving you guys the easier option of either of them. We have a C, a D major as well, and finally an E minor. There are other chords that will crop up in a song that's in the key of G, or there might even be fewer. A song might just stick to the major chords G, C, or D. And if we take the song example Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, the main chord sequence in that song is G, to a C, G, and back to D again. And the only other chord that happens in the whole song is going to be an E minor. So we have these common chords that happen, and in that chord sequence G, C, G, and D, G is the first one and the most common, and G would end the song if it didn't just fade out. So that's just as a quick inclination of what a key is and how it gets used. But why is that useful to a beginner or improving guitarist? Well, if you know the key of a song, you'll know how to play over it, for one, and we'll be covering that in a later lesson in this group of 5 for TrueFire. But also, you can just start to be one of those guys who can just pick up the guitar and play. You can play chords that sound good together rather than them being totally random, and you put those with the strumming patterns that we've covered in the first 2 lessons, and you're coming up with something that sounds good. And it doesn't have to be that one song that you've played to death, or another song that's kind of difficult and you're not yet comfortable with. And we're kind of learning the mechanics, the underlying workings of why things sound good, why certain chord sequences get used over and over again. And there are those well-trodden chord sequences, and I'll give you a couple of examples. But the theory goes that you could pick any of those chords that I've just listed, G, A minor, B minor 7, or just a standard B minor, C, D, and E minor. You could put them in any order and it will sound good. That's what we're going to be doing with my second recommended chord sequence, which I'll have written on the lesson notes for this as well. But that's going to be a bar of G, a bar of D, bar of E minor, and then a bar of C. They're the 4 most common chords in the key of G in the most common order. And these you can do an awful lot of songs with as well. I'm going to go for the second most common strumming pattern ever to give us a little bit more time on each chord. So that would be 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a. And it's best to take those 4 chords and just repeat them, because that's what real songs do. And but as I say, we've got that common order. So common order number 1, G, C, G, D for a bar of each. And then your 4 chord song order for a bar of each, G, D, E minor and C. And as you can play for the bar of each with any strumming pattern you want to go for, and it will always work. You can swap out any of those chords with any of the ones from the ones that are in the key of G that I've listed earlier in this video, and it will still work. And guess what? Even the notes we're going to play over that in the next video, it will still work even if we change the order. Now, of course, if it's all kind of planned out beforehand and you're really familiar with the sound of these chords and you've done this before, you can tie together the melody with the chords a little more. But in the early days, the theory goes that it will just work, and it needs to be experimented with and it needs to be tried out. So we've got those 2 recommended chord sequences, and from there I'd like you guys to write out 4 bars, so 5 lines down with 4 spaces in between them on a sheet of paper. Don't worry, I've done this for you already, it's in the lesson notes. And we're going to be writing down one of those chords from the recommended one in each bar. You can put 2 in each bar if you want, but that's going to make it kind of harder for your changes. So it's up to you how challenging you want to make your chord sequence. You know, some people might want to stay away from the B minor because it's new to them, and that's cool because it doesn't always get used. But you can do any order and it will kind of still sound good together. It will still work as guitar. And then over those chord sequences that you create, we're then in lesson 4 going to be playing over those and getting used to this idea of improvising. That's it for this lesson. Hope that is something that works for you and that you see the benefit of, because there's huge leaps of benefits that can be felt when you continue to go down this road. This video is part of a guitar teacher competition organised by TrueFire, trying to find the next top guitar instructor 2014. So please, if you do find these lessons useful, please vote for me. I'd be very appreciative of it. I think it'll just be to the right there. So other than that, I hope to see you again, and check out the future videos coming next week.